at one point, I think it was in December of '75, the legislature decided to accept a compromised income tax and proposed it to Byrne, which was a real breakthrough.
What, that it came from the legislature?
Yeah, that they were going to go along with an income tax, but a different one. And we analyzed it, and the problem was it wasn't enough to, to do what we needed to do. And therefore, we would do this income tax, and then we'd be back. Let's say this was December of '75. We'd be back in February of '76 asking for another income tax to balance the next budget. It was something we just couldn't accept, much as we wanted to reach a compromise. One of our goals in all this was that whatever we did would last for the whole Byrne term, 2 terms, which it did, by the way. So we recommended rejecting that, and Byrne rejected it, and that caused tremendous conflict with the legislature.
Who were the legislators
I'm not
spearheading
sure.
that effort?
I'm not sure.
We're still chronologically in the spring of '74.
Right.
You've developed a multi-bill package on school finance and tax reform. And it takes 2.5 years to get that enacted, or more than 2 years to get that enacted?
Well, the school portion of it got enacted in '75. That is the formula and the governance issues and all that. And we had a wonderful legislature then. And people like Al Burstein and Steve Wiley and Gordon McInnes and I mean, Charlie Yates, a whole raft of really wonderful legislators, and they worked at it, and I'm sure improved it. There was no particular pride of authorship in any of this for me. Just get it done was all I cared about, and I think they came up with, I forget, they called it Chapter 212 or whatever it was, but it passed in '75. The tax portion of it didn't pass until '76. And that was more controversial, and the court prompted the passage of it in '76 by saying that it's unconstitutional until there's a way to pay for this bill, and we're shutting down the schools, which they did in '76.
Shut them down in July, right?
July.
So there was no school in session.
There was summer school that was shut down.
Uh-huh. In essence, that was putting a gun to the head of the legislature, wasn't it?
Yes. But there was more to it. There was more along the way. This was a in 1 year, because of the failure to pass the tax, the budget wasn't balanced, and I think it was '75. So the governor line item vetoed hundreds of millions of dollars of spending. Huge, unheard of vetoes of spending to get the budget into balance as it was required to be. And it caused havoc in the state. And the legislature got back together and passed some interim taxes to get the budget back to...
What kind of taxes, do you recall?
I don't really, but they weren't, not income, not sales, not corporate, but little nuisance taxes. And, all of those came out when the income tax passed in '76. But even with all that, the state budget was less in that year than it had been in prior years. So it was the first time ever that the state budget actually went down. And I also think it's important to, looking at these issues, to understand that the '70s were tumultuous times economically in this country. We had the gasoline crisis, we had coffee crisis, we had inflation of 15%, we had interest rates 20%, unemployment in double digits. This was the worst economy since the Depression, and so all of what we're talking about took place in a period where people were very unhappy to begin with, and it made all this harder to do.
Did Brendan Byrne need to be persuaded to back the tax? I mean, he had said during the campaign that he didn't see a need for an income tax in the foreseeable future. Did he have to be persuaded?
Not by me. The one thing I loved about working for Brendan Byrne, in any topic, there wasn't this elaborate decision-making process with meetings and big sessions and memos and all that folderol that delays action. Now, I don't know what conversations Dick Leone or Lou Caden might have had with Brendan Byrne about this. I never had any need that was interrupting my progress to spend a lot of time explaining things and meeting with people and all this. We didn't have time for it, and it wasn't required. So I can't answer the question. Dick or Lou Caden would have to answer the question.